Welcome back to another MT Doctrine, and in this episode, I want to talk about common sense and common courtesy. So for all the videos that I create for MT Doctrine, it's really about creating a structure of providing an understanding for why people are what they are and what they do. So I had the complete analysis of understanding humans and what we do based on the human formula. I can analyze any person and I can determine why people do what they do. And there's other add-on videos that I did. I talk about the acts of human aggression. These are things that all of us as wild animals, as aggressive animals, this is what we do. I talk about the groups that we identify with: race, ideology, religion, sex. The list goes on. Those are particular things that we are a part of, and when we discriminate or if we have an opinion about something, it is always towards a group that is different from us. Well, another component in all of this analysis is common sense and common courtesy. This is something that I call common sense courtesy, and that's what I want to talk about in this particular video and the next set of videos that pertains to common sense and common courtesy. So let me explain what common sense and common courtesy means, because the two things are really connected together. They're really the same thing. And this is something that I have found out that it is probably the smoking gun for why we bicker between each other as human beings. It's common sense, it's common courtesy. So what is that? So common courtesy really is the ability of thinking of others, putting yourself in their shoes. So let's say that you're driving and you cut somebody off. You probably pissed them off. Well, put yourself in their shoes. What happens if you were driving with your kids in the car or somebody that you care about in the car and somebody cuts in front of you? You will probably be pissed off. So why would you think that when you do it, that everything else will be fine? It doesn't work like that. Part of common courtesy is thinking of others and putting yourself into their position. When we talk about common sense and common courtesy, we're talking about doing the right thing and being nice. Now I was thinking of saying be respectful, but people could say, well, you haven't earned my respect. Well, you have earned the right to be nice to people. There are a lot of people that are not nice and they do mean things just to start something. That's not the right thing to do, and it's not a nice thing to do. And basically that lacks common sense and common courtesy. That's just the way that works. So that is another attribute in terms of common sense and common courtesy that goes along with the territory. Another example is the opposite of the acts of human aggression. The acts of human aggression where we are very judgmental, we are self-centered, we are self-righteous, we are entitled, we are oblivious, we are greedy, we yearn for significance, to be famous, and we are misanthropy, whether it is dislike, hatred, not trusting a particular group of people based on race, based on religion, based on economic class, and so on. We as human beings we are those acts of human aggression. We do those things all the time, but at different levels. Well, part of common sense is to not do those things. And yes, that's challenging. So one of those things is not being judgmental, not judging people with what they do or what they say or the choices that they make. It's none of your business. It is their choices that they have to make, and that could lead to their own consequences. So if a person wants to take nude pictures of themselves, that's their choice. That's not your choice. That's not my choice for us to make for them. But there's consequences. And that is, well, those pictures could be exposed. And there it is. That's a consequence that could happen, but that is a choice that they have to make. Stop judging people. Also understand that the world doesn't circle around you. Stop being self-centered. Stop being entitled. You are nothing more, you and me, and all 7 billion people on this planet. Each of us, we're merely just a little grain of sand on a beach. You can't tell us apart. We're a dime a dozen. We're nothing. We're basically just all grouped together. And the universe and our planet and the way of life on Earth does not revolve around you. You're not the center of anything. You're not. And oblivious. Oblivious means that you are unaware of what you're doing. And a part of that, of course, is the example of thinking of others. So those are basically some of the examples when I'm talking about that involves common sense. That it is the opposite of being the act of human aggression. Another example of common sense is to not do hate, to not judge people. And a good example of that is when we discriminate towards a person because of sex, race, religion, all the groups that we identify with. So when a person says, oh, well, women belong at home. They don't belong in the workplace. They should be moms. They should cook our food in the kitchen. Women are weak. That is an example of not having common sense. Or when you're judging a person because of color and say, oh, he's a black person, so he's dangerous. He's violent. He sells drugs. He plays sports. That is called stereotypes. And as a result, you're not using common sense. That not all people are like that. Not all women are like that. And many other examples that I can give you, and I will give you in this part of a new type of series that I want to talk about common sense and common courtesy. But you don't put judge on people. You don't put a bias and say, oh yeah, all people are like this for everyone. Common sense, that's not true. So let me provide you a couple examples from the news or articles that I read or videos that I see that illustrates common sense courtesy. The first one, let's keep it simple, is internet trolls. Internet trolls are cowards. They're weaklings because they say things anonymously and would never have the guts to say it in a person's face. I talk about this in the human formula because when our identity is protected, there are minimal consequences. Because if we find out who a person really is when they do a trolling comment, we could expose them. It could compromise their position at work, with school, their family, who knows. So when you're posting comments that are really hateful comments, you will see that it comes from anonymous type of accounts. You are a coward. A lot of internet trolls are kids. Kids think they know everything. They got life all figured out. And kids want to be tough and they say mean things and they think it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but because it is very juvenile, it's not intelligent. It makes you look dumb. It makes you really unintelligent. And that's kind of a good example of not having common courtesy. Because you know good as well that if someone was in your face and they're trash talking you, they're saying a lot of mean things to you, you'll be affected by it. You may start crying and be pouty about it. You'll be affected by it. So what do you think that when you do it to somebody else, that it could impact other people? They wouldn't like it. It's not the right thing to do. But again, it lacks common sense because people are being mean. They're being oblivious. They feel like they're entitled. I'm entitled to say mean things. I think it's funny though. No, it's not. It's not amusing at all. It proves what your character is. Very low character, not credible, not taken seriously. I feel sorry for you if you do. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to I started a business called Troll Stoppers, which is focused on filtering internet trolls who place inappropriate comments on YouTube channels and other sites that we monitor. Example number 2, and this has happened a couple of times, and this is creating a pretty interesting spark. People on airplanes and people who recline their seats on airplanes. That's the only example I can technically give, but that is a great example of the lack of common courtesy. I was watching a video on the Young Turks. I love the Young Turks. I agree with a lot of things that they say. But there was something that was said by Ben. I think he's one of the founders of the Young Turks. And he made a comment that, well, yes, I always put my seat back. It's an option on the plane. And I'm thinking, wow, you're an asshole. Because for one, you are oblivious. You're not thinking of others and the impact onto others. He makes a comment like, well, it's just a little bit of space it takes up. I don't know how tall you are, but I'm 6'1". And when I'm on an airplane and when someone puts their seat back, it sacrifices a lot of space that isn't already there in the first place. Because you're so oblivious, Ben, on the reality. You're not thinking of other people. You're only thinking about yourself. The planes are already crowded. They're very small as it is. Thinking of others means, I need to put my seat back, but that could impact the person behind me in their space. And I could be in a position where maybe I'm working on something on my laptop and someone decides that they would put their seat back, which could impact my space. Maybe Ben travels first class. Must be nice to get those wonderful donations at the Young Turks. But for many of us, we travel coach. I think he travels coach too, though. Again, I love the Young Turks, but I strongly disagree with what Ben said in that particular segment that I was watching. Because it gave a very perfect example that he felt like he was entitled. Well, there's an option for that. Well, there's options for guns that you can buy and shoot people. That's an option. That doesn't mean that you use it because you're using common sense and common courtesy. If I'm on an airplane, am I blasting my music? Am I yelling and singing out loud on the airplane? No, I don't blast my music because that is the wrong thing to do. Because I'm thinking of other people. I'm thinking, well, that's going to, interrupt people. It's noise. So I don't want to do that. I'm thinking of other people. Shame on me. Or if I was playing a movie on my iPad and I turned up the volume next to you when you were trying to sleep. That's rude. That's not a nice thing to do. That's the wrong thing to do. That's an example of being oblivious of the things around you. This shouldn't really be an example, but I saw an article about the rudest drivers in America. Rude drivers are in every single city, town, nook and cranny. They're everywhere. I swear, I think that 90% of people on the road do not know what they're doing. They do not know how to drive at all. And a lot of them, they show their acts of human aggression vividly. Oh my goodness. Really entitled, self-centered, oblivious. The lack of common courtesy. And sometimes it's a very dangerous situation because you hear about road rage. And some of these people, they be really pressing it though. Like I seen this one car. I was in the right lane. I was driving back home after picking up my kids. And there was a car, in the left lane. And there was another car that really kind of, drove a little bit faster. That car in front of him purposely started slowing down, going below the speed limit. And they were doing that. And the only thing that was happening is it was pissing off the person behind him. He was pissed. And I can just imagine the person in front of him just thinking like, well, you need to slow down. Dude, that's dangerous. Because you could put him into a particular state where he could follow your ass home and confront you physically. Don't do that. Don't be an idiot though. That's an example of that could be very bad road rage that could happen. And I see this all the time with people that do that. They just purposely just slow down and do that. I'm like, oh my goodness. They're asking, I say, don't you understand? When you're doing that, look, the person behind you that's so in a hurry, he's an asshole. Okay, I agree. I'm not on his side or her side at all. But you doing that, you're also an asshole. You're not the hero. You're not justified in that. You're basically like entitled, like you're entitled to do that. You're not entitled to do that. You're putting yourself in danger. Especially when I see kids in the back seat. Seriously? That's called common sense. Why would you basically piss off somebody behind you with your kids in the car, which could basically follow you home and confront you physically? Use a little bit of common sense. That's what I'm talking about. And the conditions on the road and how we as people interact, there's so many personal examples that you can probably give your own examples about that. All right, I'm getting worked up here, but I got one more example for part 1 of this video. And it is my favorite. And I was cheering because this woman was screaming, use common sense, use common courtesy. Use common sense courtesy. So I'm going to show you the video of what I'm talking about. But in a quick summary, there was some news channel in South Dakota, and there was a tornado or something like that. And there were some warnings. There was, people were in danger. People's lives were at risk. And when people were watching their TV shows, they're watching some TV show. I don't know what it was. I don't care what it was. And it was breaking news, and they basically interrupted people's television show to provide this information. And people were bitching and complaining because their show was interrupted, some ABC show. And this woman said it perfectly. She basically called bullshit. She called common sense courtesy. I don't do it justice to explain exactly what has happened in this video, so here it is.
What a terrible night for farmers north of Hotspur, Iowa. That's right between Sheldon and Orange City on Highway 60. A tornado ripped up their livelihood.
Take a look at this video. The Sioux County Sheriff's deputy caught this on the dash cam. It's hard to see, but you can kind of see, wait till the lightning strikes. And then you can really see that that thing is ripping up a lot of dirt. And the Iowa woman said that her grandmother's intuition likely saved her granddaughter's life. Listen to this.
My daughter and I talking on the phone, and me calling because I seen all the weather warnings on KSFY, and they were doing the weather warnings, and so I called their house, and it's kind of an ongoing joke because Grandma's calling, Grandma's worried, but then then it was about 20 minutes later, and I got a text from her, we've been hit.
You know, I felt bad for having to interrupt folks' TV show, but I'll tell you what.
I tell you what, quit calling and ripping Sean for being on the air to save people's lives. Deb is proof right there that they heard it on KSFY. No show is as important as someone's life. You aren't going to go on the air if it's not important. And
Absolutely.
People just berated our station for him being on the air. But I tell you what, if it was your home and your neighbors, you would feel differently. So please don't do that. That's not nice.
Poor Bridget Bennett in the newsroom. Boy, she got an earful on Saturday night.
You can go to abc.com and watch your show.
Exactly. I can live with, it's a TV show. I can live with you missing it. I feel bad, but I can live with it.
We get it. You love your show, and we love that you're watching KSFY, but we love that Sean was saving lives, literally. Wow. Deb just said it. We saw it on KSFY. Let the neighbors know.
It's why we do it.
It is why we do it. Please don't call and complain. That's not nice. really gets me mad. All right, store owners, police, and residents are trying to work together to crack down on rising crime.
That put a big smile on my face. I talk about all the time that the world contains evil because human beings are aggressive animals. I say that a lot. But there's also good people on this planet. There are people that do have common sense, that do have common courtesy. There are a lot of people out there, but it sometimes gets overlooked. Well, that wonderful person really speaks for the reality of what really matters. I couldn't say even better. She said it perfectly. That's why I had to just let you see that. And for you to see, yes, that is common sense. That is common courtesy. That's what I'm talking about. Because what she said is a very good prime example. That if it was someone that you cared about, that was somehow involved or part of that particular situation that she was talking about, you will give a shit. You will be concerned. You want to get more information. But these are people that were complaining about their freaking TV show, their stupid TV shows. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's Game of Thrones. It's a freaking TV show. It's nothing. But again, you're not thinking of other people. You just care about yourself. And maybe that's the reality. We don't care about no one on this planet. We don't care about none of you. You probably wish everyone just died and that it was just you. Like the night of the comet. Well, I hope the zombies get you, by the way. That's called common courtesy. It's called common sense. They're providing information that could save lives. You want to watch your show? Then go to abc.com, which they said you can still watch your show. It's not the end of the world. But that is exactly how people are. They feel like they're entitled. Like, don't interrupt my show because of this thing here. You're so self-centered. You're so oblivious. You're so entitled. And she called it perfectly. And there it is. Common sense and common courtesy. So that will conclude with part 1 of common sense courtesy. I'll give you other examples on things that I see on the news, articles, videos, whatever, that will show more examples that people lack common sense and common courtesy. That is the smoking gun. That is why when we start complaining, start scratching our heads like, why are they people saying this? They don't have common sense. And there's so much more where that came from. So I want to thank you for watching this particular video or this episode of the MT Doctrine. Please subscribe to our channel. We release new videos every week, and I'll see you next time.